In this Nerd Bytes episode, we'll be exploring the NRQL time series keyword. You can use time series to render data over a period of time. So let's get started with a basic example. Here we're simply counting the number of transactions across a day. If we simply add the time series keyword to this, it will render on a chart across the day. Each point on the chart is the value for a certain time period. So you can see as I move the mouse, the time period changes. So it's 8:47, 9:17, 9:47, 10:17. So in this case, the gap between the points is 30 minutes, and we call that a bucket. So that's our bucket size, is 30 minutes. As we adjust the time frame, the bucket size will change automatically. So now we're on a larger time frame, so now the bucket needs to be bigger. In this case, the buckets are 1 day apart. So you might not want the automatic buckets, you might want to choose your own. Well, that's easy enough. You can specify your own by specifying a time period after the time series keyword. So now we've got 10-minute buckets. And you can make these effectively any size you like. The smaller they are, the more high resolution your chart becomes. Eventually you'll reach a point where you've requested too many. So there's a limit of 366 buckets, which is enough for one bucket a day over a year. So if you see this error, then you'll need to either increase your bucket size or reduce your time window. If you always want to see the highest resolution you possibly can, then you can use the time series max keyword, and that will always show the data in as high a resolution as possible, all 366 buckets. So that's quite useful. Time series supports faceting. So if we facet by app name, each app will be rendered as a different plot on the chart. And sometimes it's worth remembering that by default we limit only to 10, but you might want to show more plots on your chart. So you can specify that with the limit keyword. Limit also supports max, so you can show as many up to 2,000 on a chart. Obviously that's rather difficult to read. There we go, so there's rather a lot there. Finally, I want to talk about the aggregation function. So here we're looking at count star, which is the count of records, but you can also use things like average. So you might say the average duration, for example. And what's important is to know that the average is calculated across the bucket size. So in this case, the bucket size is 30 minutes. So the average will be the average for each bucket of the 30 minutes. And this is important if you're using things like latest, which will give you the most recent duration value within that bucket. So within the bucket size, say 30 minutes, if you do latest duration, it will give you the last duration that was recorded in that bucket. One more thing to mention is that if you are faceting by app name, you can also switch to the area view, which is a slightly different render, and this can be quite useful sometimes for diagnosing problems. So time series supports line and area. Okay, so should you need any more information on time series, check out the documentation, search for NRQL syntax, or check out the links that are with the description of this video. Thank you.